Hey guys, how's it going? Today here with the Division III Diaries podcast. Today I'm interviewing a very experienced head coach, over 25 years in the business, Pitt, Bradford, Washington, and Jefferson, and now at SUNY Morrisville. Head coach Fred Wallace. Coach, why don't you introduce yourself?
Uh, Hi, everybody. Fred Wallace. I'm currently at SUNY Morrisville in upstate New York, where the trees are still all covered in ice. I didn't realize my background was a snow-covered tree, but been at this a long time. I'm looking forward to chatting with everybody.
Awesome, amazing. So obviously you've been coaching for a long period of time, one of the longer tenured head coaches in terms of coaching in the Division III industry right now.
Mhm.
But everyone has a start. So why don't you talk a little bit about how you got into coaching and how that all started?
Um, so I originally started the men's club team at SUNY Brockport when I was going to school there after the Air Force. Worked with that for a little while, played, got connected with the track and field coach there, John Izzo, amazing coach. And also worked with Dr. Frank Short, who was the women's volleyball coach. Had to make up my mind which one I wanted to do. Went on a recruiting trip for track and field where it was snowy and cold and not a whole lot of fun. Went on a recruiting trip the next day with volleyball where it was warm and indoors, and volleyball ever since. 30 some years later, here I am.
I mean, no one can deny that you've had an incredible career. And I mean, that's an
Well, thank
amazing
you.
start. And to kind of add to that incredible career, over 400 wins, I'm pretty sure, on your career, uh, something around there, um, which isn't easy to do in this industry, especially with so many teams out there, so many talented players. Um, and going off the 400 wins, that obviously you've had to recruit some incredible players to get to that point.
Yep.
As much as coaches we love to take credit. The players do a lot of the work on the court.
Yes, they
So
do.
I do have to ask. Obviously, everyone knows who M is, right? But when you
Yep.
got her to go to Morrisville, and eventually turn her into the All-American, the superstar, the statistical leader, all the accolades, how did that development work? Was she very raw when she came in, or
Uh,
was she just that talented at the start from the get-go?
some of both. How was that? Emily played for Austin Juniors on their top team. Did not get a ton of playing time, but uh, Coach Kim and I, my assistant coach here, went down to watch her play, and it was immediately obvious how talented she was. She was playing middle, and honestly, we could have left her there. She would have been an All American middle too. But we talked with her after her freshman year and said, we want to move you to the outside. We talked with the Austin Junior club director down there, Cody, and said, hey, can you help her learn how to serve receive? And they did. And Emily was easily the most dedicated athlete in the weight room and in every other area of being an athlete that I've ever worked with at any level, any place.
I mean, you can obviously
Yeah.
see the dedication from her stats
Oh,
alone.
yes.
Anyone who doesn't know who Emma is, just check her stats out. I mean, statistical leader last year. I mean, our this page, our outside of the year, is literally named after her for a reason. One of the most
Oh,
dominantly
yeah.
offensively producing outsides we've ever seen. But in a very rare case, you guys lucked out over there, and you got a big transfer from McKendry and Isabella. Um, how did it feel going from Emily, having that period where you're like, oh, now we got to get someone who's at Emily's level, and then getting someone who's at Emily's level? How did that process work?
uh, so interestingly enough, I actually started recruiting Izzy when she was a junior in high school. I remembered it. I don't think she had any clue, and but the club she played for, awesome people. And when I reached out, I sent her saying, "Hey, I made a joke with you, 2 years ago that if you ever entered the portal, you were going to come play for me." She laughed, and next thing I know, here she is. It's been a great transition too. She's another really hard worker. She's dynamic. She's a very different player than Emily was, in that she sees the court differently. She moves differently, but she's going to be something special too. There ain't any doubt about it.
I mean, overall, coming out of the gate swinging. But in general, your team does tend to come out of the gate swinging as a whole, and that really has to do with obviously the tournament you've been hosting.
Yep.
The very popular tournament. I had the pleasure of going there with Sage a couple years ago. It's a great experience. But how did you guys, obviously start up that tournament and when Izzy, I guess for more specifically her, got to campus and like obviously you want your outsides, especially someone replacing M to come out of the gate swinging with their offense. So how did the tournament help her settle in? And in general, how did has the tournament from the previous years helped your team kind of get going as a whole?
That's a legitimate good question. So we don't necessarily tell our setters who to set or do any of that stuff. I think we try to run a very natural offense. Now, of course, anybody that walks in the gym can see that she's going to get the ball more than a lot of the other people, and that'd be true no matter what team she's on. It was the same with Emily. Um, but in general, we try to schedule really good teams early so that we can see where we're at, where we need to get better, and then work at it. As far as starting well and all of that, I think that's just a culture thing. Our players love to compete. They wake up every day ready to compete, whether it's in the classroom, on the court, rock, paper, scissors, whatever it is, a little dartboard in the locker room. Uh, they like the feeling of competing, and so we foster that.
And I mean, as mentioned, coming out swinging, both M last year. I mean, I remember we were talking after our game, and we're like, we just held M to under 200, and we
Yeah,
threw a little, we threw a little party. And obviously
I like it.
Isabella this year had like incredible opening sequence.
Yeah, she
But
really.
it goes beyond your hitters, and obviously, you have to have a very strong defense to have a really good
Yep.
offense, and I mean. Kayla had an absolutely incredible season this past year.
Yes.
And she was a senior along with your seniors Sam and Addie. Addie actually played. I remember she played at Cobleskill because that's where I'm from.
Yep.
That's my hometown. Um,
Oh,
but kind of talk about their leadership, like whether it's on the bench, Kayla kind of demanding that back row. Like, how have they, especially with your strong freshman class, like shaped the future for your team in a leadership perspective?
uh, very well. Again, we're a I we like to consider ourselves anyway a locker room driven team. We know we're not always going to have the same depth as Cortland or Christopher Newport, Juniana, that type of stuff. So we have to find other ways to be successful. And the way we do that is we like to win the locker room battle. We want to have the best attitudes. We want to have the most energy. And we require our older kids to lead with that. If you watch when we're playing or just watch the bench, even it's the girls jumping up and down and doing all the silly things like somebody had a heart attack and are revitalizing them or whatever. I don't even know. I laugh too much when I look down my bench, so I try not to because I lose focus of what's actually going on. Um, but that all starts when they're freshmen and they come in and the older girls set the tone and then they continue it. And then when they become older, they keep it going, and we've been very lucky to have great leadership and, really good people. So
I mean that energy, and I definitely get the losing focus thing. That is a big thing, but obviously, not everyone can have focus 24/7. It'd
I
be
don't even
physically
try.
impossible.
No,
So
not
obviously, as
no.
a head coach, having a good assistant coach really helps with that,
Oh,
especially if there's a moment where you need a good laugh. The assistant coach can kind of come and be like, "All right, I'm the serious one." But obviously, your assistant coach, Kim, incredible coach in her own right, was at center before, for those who don't know. Actually played for you at Morrisville. So
Yep.
how did it feel walking in one day and having to go from coaching her, even though she had been coaching for a couple years to that point,
Yep.
to now being like, oh, you're no longer my player, you're my colleague. I have to I have to see you as my colleague now. And how
Uh,
has she kind of helped you out at Morrisville with development, like anything of the above?
she is just flat out awesome. Um, Kim committed to play for us after saw her at state. She led her team to a state title. And then we started chatting a little bit more aggressively. She came for a visit, fell in love, thank goodness. And then has been a part of our program every year except one since then. She went away for the COVID year down to Center College and had a very successful time down there with Pat, another great program. And Kim will do anything you need her to do. And 99% of the time, she does it without even asking. Again, she knows our culture. She was a captain here and helped lead the team and build the things that you were talking about earlier. She does an amazing job recruiting. She presents herself exceptionally well when we're out on the road, you know, that, hey, this is kind of who you get to become if you go to Morrisville. I honestly couldn't be prouder of her. And eventually I will step down. And, you know, I feel very, very good that when I do that, that she's going to step right into the role and take over and won't miss a beat. In fact, she's already better than I am. I have zero doubts about that, Michael. None. None. She's excellent.
Anytime you have an assistant coach where you have that sort of confidence in them to take over a program, even
Yep.
before you step
Even
down.
before I'm gone, I know.
Yeah,
Good.
you know. That's wonderful. And obviously she's assisted you through some amazing seasons.
Yep.
Speaking of seasons, this past season, you guys had set wins over three. Hey, at the end of the day, you took a set from three different eventual tournament teams, which is something that
Yep.
not a large percentage of teams can do. I believe it was Manhattanville, St. John Fisher, and then the Cortland game, obviously.
Yep.
But especially a team like, St. John Fisher, who had their historical season, like first time ever winning a tournament game. You had
Yep.
Manhattanville, who's just dominated the skyline for the last 4 years, and then obviously Cortland's in your conference. Um, but to kind of stray away from that, like speaking of your conference more specifically,
Sure.
it's gonna be getting bigger as been announced
Mhm.
with Kovalskill and Delhi joining that conference from the NAC. But how
Yep.
has the conference competition been for you guys over the past 2 years? Obviously, Cortland is that top dog, and then
Yep.
Canton, I believe it was Canton had that incredible turnaround this past season. So just
Yep.
in general, like how has it been for you as a program being in the SUNY?
Um, it's been a little different in that in the other conferences that we were in, you would occasionally get a night off. You knew who the top two or three teams were, and then there was a little bit of a gap. There's not in the SUNYAC. You have to be prepared to play your best every day, and we showed that this year. I mean, we had an off night and we got beat by a team that didn't make playoffs. Um, but we had a good night and we beat the team that finished third. We went five and we took a set for Portland. We did all these wonderful things, but um, it's been different, and my recruiting had to change a little bit. The type of player I'm going after had to change a little bit. And I'm a firm believer that if you put somebody in front of me and I get a way to figure out what I got to do to beat them, I'll make that happen. It doesn't happen overnight, but I truly believe we'll get there, and I think we're going to be closer this year than we were last year. But
I
overall,
mean,
excellent conference. It really is. It's a very, very good conference.
yeah, day in and day out.
Yeah.
Obviously Cortland has been the top dog for
Mhm.
a few years now. But
Yep.
I mean, that's one of the few conferences where you can say there's no set winner. Obviously, like when you look at the landmark, you think, oh, United is going to win that. Empire
Yep.
8 for the last few years has just been, oh, St. John Fisher is going to win that.
Yeah.
The fair assumption is always Cortland's going to win it, but we're not sure. So
Yeah.
that's one of the beautiful things. That's one of the beautiful things about the SUNYAC. But in that little speech, you mentioned five setters, and obviously everyone knows probably one of the most excruciating things to do in volleyball, especially hate to bring this up from last year.
It's
The
okay.
back-to-back five setters opening day,
Yep.
Sage Alfred. But I want to focus on that Alfred game and maybe bring back a memory that you don't need or
Thanks.
don't
Thanks
want.
a lot, man. Thanks a lot.
But obviously that was a very intense game, back and forth,
Hmm.
back and forth, back and forth. Um, and the way it ended was
Yes.
20, what was it, 23-22, double call over the net, I believe. I just remember because we were playing a game at the same time. I believe we
Yeah.
were playing SUNY Poly, and we just heard an uproar, and we turned around and we saw, and Roz is sitting there, her hands in her face, going, "How do you call that?" But in terms of the call and the refs, obviously
Uh,
everyone, the whole thing is don't play to the refs. So how do you preach that as a coach to your players to not play towards the refs? Because obviously you're going to have calls like
uh,
that where it's very momentum changing, and obviously in this sense, extremely momentum changing.
yeah. Um,
But
to be honest, I don't mind my players and myself and Kim, whatever, getting emotional over stuff. I think we played a very emotional game. In case you haven't noticed, I wear mine right here, and I don't mind it. The big thing we do preach, however, is that when it's over, it's over. You don't carry stuff forward. You don't. Uh, you're playing a sport, and that builds character and does all these things, and you're learning how to deal with frustrations and how to deal with ups and downs. And but so is the other team. So is the other coach. So is the other thing. I mean, um, uh, to be honest, was I upset at the time? Yep. Not because we lost, but because we had this amazing match happening and it ended on a call. I'm not even saying it was a bad call. You watch it, he could have went either way. It's okay. Um, but again, that's part of the game and it's part of life. I mean, I'm probably going to have three things happen today that I'll go, oh. So what? You move on, you move forward, and that's what we tell our kids: move on and move forward.
I mean,
That
like you
memory
said, it
goes
was
hurt though. Thanks for bringing it up.
it was a great day of volleyball. I mean, the game itself was incredible. Um, but away from the game from that day, there was one memory that I believe we had a good conversation, the
Mhm.
Sage team, on the bus going home, and that has to do with nothing related to volleyball. Your ringtone, very iconic ringtone. Um, because we remember walking in with your phone connected to the speaker and then hearing that ringtone. And that was a good memory. So I do have to ask, has your ringtone changed since then, or
I
is it
My ringtone for recruits, that's what it is still the Mission Impossible theme. That I have ringtones for my team and for recruits, and uh, unfortunately or fortunately, sometimes when my phone is hooked up, you get to hear it. So no, and it will never change.
I mean, consistency. We love to see it. We love to see it. Um, but to kind of end off, we'll kind of talk about a career highlight of yours. And this is something that's your opinion rather than like what we see on paper. Like mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, you've been coaching for a long time, so you've obviously had some very big wins.
Yep.
So what would you say is your biggest win? Like the one, even if it isn't like, oh, we beat this top 25 team, oh, we're going to the tournament. It could be like, oh, I coached against this coach 15 years ago and they beat me in a crappy way and I got to get my revenge on them. So what would you say is the biggest win of your career in any sense?
I, that's a good question, and to be honest, I don't know. I guess if I was being forced to pick one, it would be the first time we won the title here at Morrisville over Gallaudet. Um, Mainly because I was told many, many times that Morrisville couldn't do that. Before I took the job, I had left W&J, and it was, a program that was up and coming, and we were winning a lot and doing some amazing things. And I came here, and a lot of people said, why? You're going to struggle. It's going to be whatever. And then we brought in a couple of recruits that were great people, and they brought in a couple of recruits that were great people and great players. And then we had our first two All-Americans, and Sam and Meg, and we beat Gallaudet for the championship. And I think they were the only team since they joined the conference to ever won the title. As far as I know, only two schools have won what was the United East and NEAC. Only two schools have ever won the volleyball title, and that's Gallaudet and SUNY Morrisville. So that one sticks out. And I've known Lynn, who was one of the greatest coaches. I don't care about anything else. That man can coach, and he's a great guy. So to have that rivalry and get that big win, that was pretty special. But I have a lot of those, and I have a lot of hard losses, and again, it's part of our sport, and making the memories with the girls and seeing their faces was by far the best part of it.
I mean, like you mentioned, to beat a team like Gallaudet, who still is continuing to dominate, finally had a new champion in that conference, because obviously, a large portion of that team went over to compete in the Deaf Olympics.
Yep.
But to have that win is not something many coaches can say, especially since you see a lot of teams who are winning these back-to-back conferences have the same coach for so often. So it is a very rare thing to see. So very late congratulations to you on that. And
thank you.
And for anyone who's listening that wants to see progression of a program, look at Morrisville's start. I mean, you started out slow, 5-win, 5-win, 7-win, and then all of a sudden, 1 year, 20 wins, 24 wins, 21 wins. So I congratulate you on what you've done with that program. But thank you so much for taking the time out of your morning, this snowy morning, to sit down with me and have this chat. And I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I will add this to anybody that is listening. The work that you are doing for these D3 diary things is amazing. When you first started it a little while ago, what the heck is this? And now it's the first thing I turn into every day, to see all the stuff you're putting up and how you're recognizing these great kids doing stuff. It's really good. Really, really good. So thank you for all the work you're doing.
Thank you so much. And I mean, having my page be the first thing you tune into every morning is an honor, but also for me, the first thing I do is I need coffee, and then I stumble out to bed. So, but I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your spring season that's coming up, and all that. And I wish nothing but no injuries. Fingers crossed.
Thank you. Me too. Thank you.
But have a great day, Coach.
Thanks, Michael. You also.